Hi, good morning. Hi, Leela. Hi, Kathleen.
Hey, good morning.
I'm gonna put in the chat just a suggested playlist if you want. We're gonna use a bolster if you have a bolster and 2 blocks today for practice. And we're gonna get started in just about a minute or so. Welcome.
I know.
Okay, welcome. I'm Kat. If I don't know you, welcome, welcome. I just put in the chat a suggested playlist if you'd like it. For this practice, as we're just signing in, you're gonna want a bolster and 2 blocks, and we're gonna get started today seated. The plan is to do hip opening today, and we're gonna focus really on the second chakra, which is our Svadhisthana chakra, or a region around the hips. It's also our place of our security, and it's a place where we kind of work to this balance between our fight or our flight. And so the intention today is to really get into the hips. So we're going to spend about the first half part of the practice moving and flowing, and then we're going to settle into a couple of more restorative postures. So let's get started. Come on to, you can sit onto a block. I'm going to use a block to sit, but try to elevate yourself as best as you can. You can sit onto a bolster too, or a blanket if you have it. And if you don't have a bolster, a pillow works just fine for what we're going to do today. Come to a comfortable seated pose, Sukhasana. Cross one shin in front of the other. And then just take your hands on top of your knees for a moment. And then let's just start with just some centering as we get settled into this lovely Friday morning. Take a moment to tuck your chin into your chest as you begin to just drop in and arrive. And as you arrive, really arrive for yourself today. Let go of any expectations, maybe either that you think that are set for you, any expectations that you think I might have, which I really just have the expectation for you to be present and listen to your own body today. And then start to drop into asking yourself, what do I need from my practice today? And as we dive into Svadhisthana chakra, this area around the hips and the pelvis, really starting to connect to any areas that perhaps have been feeling anxious, stressed, perhaps that word of fear arises. And really start to notice, even as you come to stillness, where the mind is still fluttering. Where is it moving? Where is it going? Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras calls the mind fluctuation the chitra vritti, which means the constant chatter of the mind. And we know as yoga practitioners that that constant chatter of the mind will never turn off, but we can, through practice, through breath, through asana, through movement, through the meditation, begin to just turn the dial down. And so start with just the physical body, just noticing your surroundings, noticing what's in front of you, your potential, noticing what's behind you, your past. Maybe noticing if your past feels like it has any anxiousness, or if you're thinking or anticipating something in the future, oftentimes that's where our worry comes in, or our fear. And so put yourself in the middle of both your past and your future to find your present. Drop all the way down into your perineum. Feel your sits bones on either side of your perineum. And then think there's a root down to feel that support, that safety, that grounding. But allow yourself to also rise up and out of it. So you're really like a tree rooting down, but also finding the tree roots that go out. And then notice what's to your left and to your right, almost using your legs like imaginary roots. And then feel what's above you. Feel the air, feel the sky, maybe imagine clouds. And then exhale, drop all the way down. Feel the roots again underneath you. And then let's do that with a breath. Inhale, front, back, left, right, up and down. Exhale, feel like you're coming back to yourself at your center. And then call to mind one intention that you'd like to set today. Perhaps that intention is to maybe just notice when we stir the second chakra, Svadhisthana, sometimes we can stir things up that we didn't realize were there. And finding that place of awareness rather than judgment. So throughout the yoga practice, just be aware of what arises without any judgment. And then set your intention. Maybe it is this word of security. Maybe it's comfort. And then take a breath, inhale through the nose. Open, let a big sigh out. Allow yourself to hear your breath as you exhale. All the way out. Then lift your chin, open your eyes, open your gaze. Welcome everyone, namaste. Take a moment, just switch the crossing of your legs so the opposite shin is in front. And then reach your right hand all the way up to the ceiling. Take a moment, reach your left hand out just to the side and tense your left fingertips. And then inhale, reach up through your right hand. As you exhale, take a little side bend up and over towards your left side. Keep your chin just tucked into the chest for a moment, and then really be aware of what's going on in your lower body. Notice if your right knee is lifted, can you use your imagination to plug your right knee down just a little bit more, but also think there's a slight turn in of the thighs, so you can start to plug in, but also rise up to find a little bit more length, a little bit more lift. Find your torso from find the left rib cage, and then see if you can turn your left rib cage a little bit more to face the front. If it feels comfortable in the neck today, keep the chin a little bit more tucked into the collarbone, or you can start to turn your chin into your right armpit to make a good fit. And then if that feels okay for you, maybe start to lean a little bit more over to the left side, but keep your right sits bone and your right knee down as best as you can. Take a deep full breath, inhale. As you exhale, start to tuck the chin back into the chest, rise all the way back up. And then keep the gaze down, chin tucked into the chest. Take a deep shoulder roll, lift the heads of the shoulders up to the ears. And then exhale, release the heads of the shoulders down. And then reverse that. Inhale, draw the shoulder blades up, forward, and back, all the way down. And then take the gaze out in front of you and forward. Inhale, reach your left hand all the way up. Exhale, tense the right fingertips, take a little walk with the right fingertips out to your right side, and then start to take your side bend up and over to the right side. Keep your chin tucked in again, just as you start to stabilize. So whenever we sort of move in one direction, we want to find that replug in of the ground. So notice if your left knee is lifted. Maybe just notice if you can use the imagination to plug your left knee down, your left hip bone down. And then think that there's a slight turn in of the thighs, and see if that slight turn in of the thighs can move your pubis a little bit more out and forward. Keep the chin tucked in, or option again to start to lift the chin into that left armpit. Find the torso, use your imagination to find the right rib cage, start to turn the right rib cage a little bit more to face towards the front. And then reach up and over to side bend. Take one more breath in, really pretty good. Exhale, tuck the chin back into the chest, allow both hands to come all the way down. Let's do one more shoulder roll. Inhale, lift the heads of the shoulders all the way up. Release if you can get your shoulders to your ears. And then exhale, release them back and down. Squeeze the shoulder blades. And then reverse the direction. Inhale, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Lift the heads of the shoulders to the ears. And then exhale, draw them front, back, and down. Good. And then tuck the chin in. Slowly take the gaze forward. We all look together. That's it. And then reach both hands all the way up this time. Grab a hold of opposite hand to opposite elbow. So first, really try to fit the hands into the elbows, almost like you're putting a glove on top of a ball. And then see if you can push your elbows out into your hands to really make a good fit, a good framework. On an inhale, one more time, tuck your chin into your chest. Use that to try to root your pubis a little bit more out and up to lift your sternum up. And then see if you can use that movement to almost find a forward bend at the hip. Start to plug your pubis down and in, but allow your tailbone to come back and down. And then think that the shoulders move in line with the ears. And then inhale, draw a line, chin across the collarbone to your left. Look over to your left. Notice what's out there. Notice what's familiar. And then exhale, draw your chin in, across, and down to your collarbone. Look over to your right side. Just noticing, getting a good perspective. So really being aware of your own personal circumstance, your own personal circumference, and then do that with a breath. Inhale, chin into the chest. Come all the way, look over to the left. Take a big breath in. Exhale, turn the chin down. Come all the way over to the right side. And then inhale, draw the chin into the center, chin towards the torso, and then look forward, look all the way out. Good, and then allow the forearms just to drop down towards the torso. Relax the hands all the way down, come off and over your block. Come into your first downward facing dog. If you're not quite ready for a down dog, take a child's pose first. Just set up the alignment, and then you can come in to your downward facing dog. So take a moment to really settle and set in. The alignment from a down dog is to come into a plank pose. Then start to lift your hips up and back. Put a micro bend into your knees, everybody. And then allow the knee bend to take your gaze forward towards your thumbs. On an inhale, look at your feet. Just for now, we're going to take a wide downward facing dog to begin. Step your feet wide, take the inner arches of your feet parallel to the sides of your mat, and then look forward at your hands. Slide your hands to the outer edges of the mat, so you're coming into a really wide downward facing dog. Now take your gaze back towards your feet. Lift your heels just slightly to rebend, take that small micro bend into the knees. Find a small turn in of the tops of the thighs, and that's going to stick your butt out a little bit more. So do that again. Lift your heels. Find a small turn in of the thighs. It's going to lift your butt up, and it's also going to stick your butt out. Now keep that lift. See if you can drop your heels down to the ground. And then inhale, come forward to a wide armed, wide leg plank pose. Exhale, hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Then step both feet into more of a regulation down dog, feet underneath the hips. Look forward, slide your hands back to a more regulation downward facing dog. Hands should be shoulder distance apart. And then inhale, lunge your right foot forward to your right thumb. Tense your fingertips, look forward. Take a moment just to drop and soften your back knee down, untuck your back toes. Plug your left foot in so you can fan your left foot so the toes are coming all the way up. Try to connect your big toe and your pinky toe down. And then inhale, reach your arms forward, come all the way up. Come into your low lunge. Right away, grab opposite hand to opposite elbow. And then really see if you can push your elbows out into your hands. And then push down into your right big toe. Allow the push down into the right big toe to really notice what happens to your thighs. Spin the tops of the thighs in and see if that spin of the tops of the thighs in moves your pubis a little bit more out towards the front of the mat. Push your pubis out and up to lift your chest and sternum up. So nice. Good. Take a deep full breath. Inhale here. And then exhale. Drop your hands down. Frame your front foot. If you have 2 blocks, grab your 2 blocks now. Frame them on the medium height or the highest height, highest facet. I'm going to stick mine on the highest one. To start to come into an Ardha Hanumasana. Straighten through your front leg, and you might have to wiggle your right heel a little bit more forward and really plug your heel down, but keep your right toes curling up towards your nose. On an inhale, really lift your sternum, chest forward, out, and up. And then as you exhale, plug your right foot back in, come back to your lunge, but use the plug in to also allow the torso and sternum to rise up. We're going to move dynamically through that 3 times. On an inhale, begin to send the hips back, straighten through the front leg. Keep the gaze out the whole time. As you exhale, bend your right knee, plug your right big toe in, tops of the thighs turn in. Allow the tops of the thighs turning in to send your pubis out and up to then lift your sternum up. So nice, good. 2 more. Inhale, hips back, straighten. Try to keep that left hip on top of the left knee. And then exhale, plug your right foot in. Find the tops of the thighs turn in to plug your pubis out and up to find the lift of the chest. So nice. 1 more. Inhale, straighten. Ardha Hanumasana. Keep the gaze out in front of you. Allow the knee bend to find that plant and firmly ground of the foot. Then find the rise of the sternum out and up. So nice. Good. Take your blocks. Just place them off and to the side for a moment. Plant your hands to the inside of your right foot, everybody, and then make your way back to a table pose. Take a moment to realign your knees directly underneath your hips. Inhale, plug the tops of the feet in. Fan your toes out today. So you can plug your right big toe, your left big toe, and then spread your toes. Maybe you connect the pinky toe edge of the foot, maybe you don't. So this is our place of our stability, our connection. It's where we get our grounding. And then inhale, tilt your pelvis forward, look forward, find your cow pose. Exhale to cat. Push the hands down for the rise up of the shoulders, the ears, round the spine, and find your cat. Inhale, come back to your table pose. You might want to check me out, but take your right foot, step it wide, everybody, to the outside of your right side of your mat. So it's more like a gate pose, a Parigasana, but we're not going to take a Parigasana. Take the inner arch of your right foot down. Look at the inner arch of your right foot. See if you can align it. So it's one straight line from your right inner arch of your foot to your left knee. The hands stay in that table pose. And then inhale, look forward, look out, find your cow. Exhale, push the hands down, round the spine, find your cat. 2 more like that. Inhale, cow pose, look forward, look out. Exhale, push the hands down, round the spine. So we're really starting to open up the groin area. We're allowing the hips to really find a little bit more movement, a little bit more pliancy, so that we can find that stability and that groundedness. Look forward, look out, and then come back to your table pose. Take your hands down and then pull your right knee back in. Come into a short downward facing dog. Tuck your toes. Bend your knees first. Take your gaze towards your thumbs, and then start to lift your hips up and back, down dog. Come back to that wide downward facing dog. Look at your feet. Step your feet wide to the outer edges of the mat. Really get your heels down, and then take your hands wide to the outer edges of the mat. Just like we did before. Inhale, lift your heels. Exhale, bend your knees. Find the turn in of your thighs, and see if that gives you more space across your sacrum, your lower back. It should. Find that again. Inhale, lift your heels. Exhale, small bending to the knees. Find the turn in of the thighs to move your hips out a little bit more. And then keep that lift, lower and relax your heels down. Look forward towards your hands. Take your hands first, this time shoulder distance. And then look back at your feet. Step your feet back hip distance. So as we do that, we create space in the hamstrings. As we create space in the hamstrings, we're creating space in the pelvis. And then inhale, lunge your left foot forward to your left thumb. Tense your fingertips. Drop your back knee down, untuck your back toes. Before you rise up, plug your lower body in. Spread your right toes, big toe, fans out to the pinky toe edge. And then inhale, reach your arms forward, up and out. That's it. Opposite hand to opposite elbow. So do what fits you well, and then try to switch that perspective. Hug your elbows in so they're really getting close to your ears, everybody. And then really see if you can use the elbows to push out so the hands come a little bit wider. Push down into your left big toe, and then find that small turn in of the thighs to really move your pelvis and pubis a little bit more forward. And then allow the tailbone to drop back and down. And then inhale, lift up. Find the pubis, the sternum, the chest lifting. So there's a plug in, but there's also a lift off. So nice. Good. Release the hands down. Grab your blocks again. Highest height or lowest height. So one side you might feel really open today. You might feel really loose. just sort of notice in this first one where you can go in Ardha Hanumasana. Begin to straighten through your left leg. I like to wiggle my left foot, my left heel a little bit more. Plug your left heel down. And then curl your toes towards your nose. As you do this, look down at your left knee, and then think that the center of the left knee lifts up and off of the thigh, or the thigh lifts up and off of the knee. So there's like one straight line coming from the center of the knee, lifting all the way up to your hip point. And that's what's going to help open up the hamstring through the back of the body. And then plug your left foot in, start to bend back to the left knee, push your left big toe down. Find the turn in the thighs to allow the pubis to come out and up, then lift the chest, the sternum up. So it really comes from the pelvis today as we open the hips. Straighten through the front leg, keep that right hip on top of the right knee as you come into Ardha Hanumasana. Moving 2 more times dynamically. Inhale, plug down through your left big toe from the tops of the thighs, turn in, and allow the tops of the thighs turn in to lift and rise you up into your lunge. That's it. Exhale, straighten through the front leg. Keep the gaze out in front of you the whole time. That's where the challenge is. That's where the lift is. Exhale, come back to your lunge. Plug your left foot in. So nice. Good. Take your blocks just off into the side. Pull your left knee back in for your table pose. And then step your left foot wide to the outside of the back. Find that Parigasana or that mini gate pose. Look at your left inner arch of your foot. So you can align the left inner arch of your foot again straight across to your right knee, and then really plug your whole foot down so there's a connection from your big toe to the pinky toe edge of the foot. And then again, find that turn in of the thighs, and then see if that moves your pubis a little bit more forward, out and up. Inhale, look forward, find your cow pose. As you exhale, push the hands down, lift the shoulders away, round the spine for your cat. Inhale, find your cow pose, look forward, look out. Keep turning the tops of the thighs in, even out the hips and the pelvis. Exhale to your cat, tuck the chin in and round. One more like that. Inhale, find your cow pose, look forward, look out. Exhale, find your cat, tuck the chin and round the spine. Really nice, everyone. Come back to your table pose, hands and knees. Then sink your hips back to your heels for a child's pose. Hands come all the way back to the heels. And then sit all the way up, come up and over. We're going to use our blocks today for Chaturanga. It's not going to make it easier. It's just going to make it more aligned, and it's going to give you the support under the torso. So anytime we think about Chaturanga, a lot of times we really just use our upper body rather than using our lower body. And when we disengage our lower body, we lose that sense of security, that boundary. So if you have a block, take your block, everybody, and put it on the medium height, and you may want to actually look at me for this. So if you have one block, play around with just the one block. If you have 2 blocks, I want you to put a second block in the middle like a T. So it's like a backwards T facing you. Watch the demo first. So it doesn't matter, 1 block or 2 blocks, 2 blocks preferred. Put your pelvis down, and you can watch this first. You're gonna put your pelvis down. So I'm really trying to get my pubis down. My knees can stay down for this. If you want more today, you're gonna plug your feet in, push your heels back to straighten your legs. My hands are directly underneath my shoulders. They're not forward, they're here. Really aiming to get 90 degrees from my shoulder joint to my wrist, one straight line. I'm gonna lean my torso forward. I'm gonna plug my legs in, heels back. Elbows bend, coming down, Chaturanga. And then inhale, press straight back up for more of an up dog with touch toes. We're gonna do that just 5 times. Lower down, inhale, upward facing dog. But we're really supported, we're really plugged in so that we can really find that stability in the lower body and get the mobility and the openness in the chest. So set yourself up either 1 block or 2 blocks. And then I want you just to move and play with this and try this. 5 times. I'm going to come over and watch on my second screen to give a little bit more feedback. So as you come into this, really plugging into the legs, lowering the elbows down. That's it. Yeah, so block really under the pelvis. Yeah, so nice. And Kathleen, hands really next to the shoulders, elbows plugged in to 90, and then lower all the way down. But you have to really get your lower body involved, place of stability. lower down, and then inhale. That's it, Layla. So nice. Good. Squeeze your elbows in even more than you think you should. Yes. Good. So once you've gone for 5, come all the way back. And it gives you the support, the lower body, right? So when we plug in, a lot of times in our flow practice, we lose that connection to the lower body because we have a tendency to muscle through. This is like when we lose our boundary or we lose our sense of security, we muscle through, right? We don't have our groundedness. So this plugs us in through the feet to feel our sense of security, our boundary, and it gets our upper body involved. And then when you come all the way back, slide your blocks to the side, come back to your downward facing dog. Step your feet wide again and off the mat. Take your hands wide and off the mat. Come into that wide-legged Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. And then look forward. Step your right foot forward to the top of the mat. Tense your fingertips. And then plug your right heel in and down. Inhale. Start to rise up to your high lunge. Come all the way up. Good. Use your right big toe plug down. And then start to bend your right knee, lunge it forward. But use your left heel like an anchor to plug all the way back. Grab opposite hand to opposite elbow. Take a deep full breath. Inhale, lift all the way up. As you exhale, take your hands down. Frame your front foot. Keep your gaze out. Step back either to table or plank pose. Lower your knees down. And then come into just an Ardha half chaturanga. Inhale, baby cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Step your feet wide and off the mat. Take your hands wide and off the mat. And then inhale, lunge your left foot forward. Take your time. Starting just in a wider stance, you can inch that right foot in. Then when you're ready, inhale, rise up, high lunge, come all the way up. Opposite hand to opposite elbow to give yourself a boundary, a framework. Really finding yourself in the middle. Plug your right big toe in and down to lunge you forward. Find that turn of the tops of the thighs in to move your right hip a little bit more forward. Take a full breath in. Exhale, drop your hands down, frame your foot. Come back to your plank pose or your table pose. Lower your knees down. Lower down half chaturanga. Can you plug your feet in from the big toe, pinky toe, rather than just muscling your way through? Inhale, allow your chest to lift, but use your legs. Plug your feet back and down. Exhale, come back to child's pose this time. Hips back to the heels. When you're ready, come back downward facing dog, traditional, more regulation down dog. Then inhale, look at the top of the mat, step your feet to get to the top of the mat. Take your hands to your shins, lengthen and lift. Exhale, bend your knees as you fold. Inhale, slowly rise to stand. Allow yourself to graze your hands onto your thighs, really feeling your strength, your stability, hands together at the heart. Come into a tree pose, Vrikshasana. I'm going to turn to face you, but you can stay where you are. Shift the weight, everybody, into your left foot, and just put a micro bend into your left knee. Start to hug your right knee in into your chest. And then you can grab a hold right hand to right foot for Vrikshasana tree pose. Notice where the foot naturally lies. Maybe today you take it a little bit lower if you want more grounding. Find that turn out of the right thigh. So really think that the movement of that turnout comes from the hip, at the hip socket, and really using that left thigh, plug the left foot down, but think that the top of the left thigh presses back, and then find the rise up and out of the torso. Root your left foot down, but think there's a rise up and out of the center of your head. And then start to reach your arms up, only if it feels grounding and accessible. Opposite hand to opposite elbow today if you want to make yourself into a little frame. That's it. Take a full breath, inhale. As you exhale, relax your hands back down next to your hips. Draw your right knee in. Set your right foot down. And then just shake it out for a moment. You can bend the knees a little bit, find a little bit of movement. Inhale, plug your right foot in and down. Bend your right knee just softly. Lift your left knee up to hip height, and then turn your leg out at the hip. Set your foot above or below. You can use a left hand to guide the foot up, only if it feels supportive for you. You can also use a ball. Hands at the heart just to start. So the easiest way to start any balance, hands at the hips is the most grounded. Hands at the heart is going to give you a little bit more torso sort of support, right? And then hands all the way up, only if you want the added challenge today, opposite hand to opposite elbow. Plug your right foot down. Think that your right thigh moves back. And then think that as the thigh moves back, you're really turning your left leg out of the hip so you can find the rise up out of your torso, out of your chest. Keep plugging your right big toe, your pinky toe, and the center of the heel down so that you can rise up and out of the crown of your head. Take one more breath. Really, really beautiful trees today. Exhale, allow your hands to relax down. Pull your left knee in and then set your left foot down. Turn to face your left part of your mat. So come all the way back to the top if you need this space. And then just for a moment, turn to your left. Step your feet to the widest part of the mat. We're gonna come into a warrior two. Put your brain in your left foot, find your left foot. Turn your left foot, just for today, a little bit more like a 45-degree angle, so like a warrior one. Hands to the hips, lift your right heel. Turn your right leg out at the hip, and then you can wiggle your right foot forward to bend into your right knee. Find your warrior two pose. That's it. Turn your torso back to face your left thigh. So the whole torso and the orientation is gonna really turn to the side. Reach your arms straight up. Grab opposite hand to opposite elbow, and then allow that fit to really keep you grounded. Straighten through your right leg. Turn your torso again to face the left. Find your pubis. That should be in front of you. Allow your pubis to come out and up, and then allow your tailbone to plug back and down. And that should really keep you nice and centered. And then really find yourself in the center of your arms. Notice where your left arm is. Notice where your right arm is. So there's a good frame of reference, and then rise up and out of that. So you're really playing the middle. Keep the arms and torso where it is. Push the weight into your right heel to rebend the right knee for your warrior two. And then inhale, do that 2 more times. Straighten through your front leg, push the weight into the big toe mound, but keep the right hip firmed in. The top of the left thigh spins down, but keep the weight pressing back in the left heel. Bend back, find your warrior two. Push the weight back into the heel. Last one. Inhale, push into the ball of the foot, the big toe mound of the right foot. Just straighten the leg. That's gonna really keep that intention of moving the center of the knee and thigh up and away from the hip. Plug your right hip in, and then exhale, bend back into that right knee, find your warrior two. Relax down, next to hips. Re-straighten the right leg, turn your feet a little bit more parallel, hands to the hips, and then find just warrior two to face the back today. Turn your right big toe in, just like a warrior one, more to 45-degree orientation. That's gonna be really where you get the hip opening today. Lift your left heel, turn your leg out from the hip to send your toes forward. And then just try to bend into the left knee so you feel that orientation. Straighten through your left leg, reach your arms all the way up above your head. Opposite hand to opposite elbow again. So before we find that knee bend and dynamic movement, really plug your feet in and plug your hips and your pelvis in so you have a good frame of reference. Find your right heel. Push your right heel down and in. Turn the top of the right thigh in. That's gonna move your left hip back more into the hip socket. So do that again. Plug your right heel in, move the top of your right thigh in and down to really plug your left hip back a little bit more into the hip socket. And then find your frame of reference with your torso. Keep everything in the lower body. Turn your torso a little bit more to face the right. Lift your pubis out and up to lift your chest up. Then allow your tailbone to drop and back and down. Bend back into your left knee, but use your heel to move your thigh parallel to the front of the mat. And then 2 times. Straighten through your left leg, push into the big toe mound. Keep firm in your outer left hip in. Bend back into your left knee. Find your heel as you press the thigh to parallel, but keep the lift of the chest. That's a challenge. Re-straighten your left leg, come back, and then relax your hands down. Beautiful work. Take your feet back parallel, and then step your feet together. Turn back to face the front of the room. So that's where we really get the hip opening, right? And we really get that hip opening from the turn of the pelvis and the turn of the hips. Come into mountain pose Tadasana. Inhale, reach your arms all the way up with one last short flow before we settle into our first restorative pose. Fold all the way down, Uttanasana. Take your hands, your shins, lift up halfway. Then exhale, plant your hands, step back against your downward facing dog. If you'd like a little flow here, take a flow. Forward on an inhale to plank. Lower knees down or keep a lifted chaturanga. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, come back downward facing dog as you're ready. Inhale, slowly pick up your right foot and slide your right shin this time to come into a pigeon pose. Right shin down for pigeon pose. And then drop your left knee down, untuck your left toes. That's it. If you have two blocks, grab your blocks, slide them just on either side of the right hip and the left hip, but think that there's a rise up. So first, replug your left big toe in, really tuck your toes in to try to get your right big toe all the way to the pinky toe, or your left big toe rather, to the pinky toe edge of your foot. And then find that little turn in of the thighs to move your pubis more forward and out. Drop your back knee down, untuck your back toes. If you have one block, take the block now underneath your diaphragm. Take a second block right on top, right in front of it rather, and then come all the way down. If you want to come on your back, yeah, Kathleen, I see you on your back, beautiful. Just keep the orientation of trying to find more of that four square shape, right thigh on top of left thigh. But if not, come all the way down to your pigeon pose. And we'll be here a full minute as we just settle into the hips in our first pose of really just coming into stillness and rest. And then put yourself really in the middle of the pose. Draw the tongue to the roof of the mouth. And as you draw the tongue to the roof of the mouth, really note that that puts you in the center of yourself, the center of your vision, your outlook. And allow your legs to really plug in. So when we plug in with our legs, we're plugging down, but we're also plugging out. So begin to really notice the orientation of the pelvis. And we'll do just a quick body map of the pelvis. And if this is new to you, we do all of this with our imagination. So start to find the front of your right hip. Draw an imaginary line from the front of your right hip to your left knee. So that there's a cross reference, a diagonal line. And then draw an imaginary line from the front of your left hip to your right knee. Drawing an imaginary diagonal line so that there's an X in the center of your pelvis. And then think that your pubis now points back and out. That your tailbone grounds you and roots you down a little bit more. And then do that with your breath. Inhale, right hip, left knee. Exhale, left hip, right knee. Breathe in, feel your whole pelvis. Exhale, release. And when you're ready, feel free to stay on your back. Switch sides if you're on your back. You can also take Apanasana, knees to chest. If you're in that pigeon pose, traditional, you can come either into just a table pose, maybe take some hip circles, or come back in a downward facing dog. Take whatever orientation in the body feels intuitive and natural to you. Then as you're ready, slide your left shin forward, come into your pigeon pose. Find the orientation first of the body, and then we orient a little bit more further with the mind. So all this body mapping that I do in my practices, we have the physical alignment, of course, take the physical cues, but when we start to really tap into the imagination, that's when we start to get into really finding the power. And when we have more power in the body, we have more power in the mind, we have a better imagination. When we have a better imagination, we like to dream, we like to daydream, but we also have to keep those daydreams rooted so that we know where we're going. We have a roadmap, right? Because we all know the big dreamers and big thinkers, but they're not good executors, right? So that's where the polarity is. Finding the grounding, but working on the dream. Walk your hands back, lift your chest up. Just for a moment, tuck your right toes in, find your right big toe so you can spread it to the pinky toe. Find the turn in of the thighs and see if that moves your hips a little bit more into orientation. Pubis out and up, tailbone back and down, hips to their own side. Then drop the right knee down, untuck the back toes. Slide a block underneath your diaphragm. Take a second block in front. So what this does with the blocks, if that's new to you, it keeps your shoulders in line with your hips rather than having the shoulders below the hips. And as we do that, we create more capacity to physically breathe for our lungs. So we find that spaciousness. And when we find that spaciousness, we can truly open up the hips more. And as we do this, really find the power of the imagination. We'll stay here 1 full minute. And so again, orienting using this body map. And as we use these body maps, which is really just using pinpoints in the body, much like you would if you were to look at a traditional map, right? We're sort of setting our conditions up. And just like when you have a map, you have a direction, you have a place that you're gonna go. When you put your, when you start to get into your car, you know you have to open the door, you know you have to turn the key in the ignition to turn the pilot light on. You have to set up your mirror so that you can see behind you, you can see in your reflection, you can see out of your windshield, you can see to your left and to your right so that you don't get sideswiped. But you start to set up your conditions so that you know where you're going, right? We often rarely get in a car without a direction, without a point. And so the body mapping does this for us. It allows our mind to relax, to ease, so that we're not just doing poses to do them, we're doing them with a direction. So use your imagination to find your right hip. Draw an imaginary diagonal line to your left knee. Draw an imaginary line, find your left hip, and then find that diagonal across to your right knee. Think that your pubis moves back and out, and your tailbone plugs you down and in. And then inhale, use the breath, add the breath with that. Inhale, right hip, left knee. Exhale, left hip, right knee. Find the X in the center of the pelvis. Think that there's a pressing down, a rooting, but there's also a rising up. So you can lift your chest a little bit more. So you can feel that groundedness and then get your stability. You can find your torso, which is your ability, your way of handling the world, how you hold your feelings. And then you're the steering wheel. Where do you steer your emotions? Where do you steer your dreams? Where do you steer your day? Where do you move? And then where's the vision? So you're plugged in, you're using your own personal navigation system. Take a breath, inhale. Let the breath out as you exhale. Walk your hands back, lift your chest, come all the way up. And then just take a moment, roll off on one hip. Swing your legs out around in front of you. And we're gonna set up for Barca Lounger for our little bit longer held this time restorative posture. 2 blocks. If you don't have blocks, you can just set a pillow or a bolster flat along the mat. If you have the 2 blocks, put them in an L shape, 1 block on the highest facet, 2nd block on the lowest facet. Set your bolster up so that it's at a diagonal. We're gonna take a Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together, knees open and wide, and then start to recline your torso all the way back. The most important thing is to have your head supported so that your neck has support. And then relax your hands down. If you want a little bit more opening through the respiratory system, which we all need right now, just in general because we're fighting a virus that needs more respiratory support, turn your palms up, spin your biceps up, and then allow that spreading of the arms and the biceps to open up through your collarbones. And then see if you can close your eyes just to soften, relax. Again, if it feels like it's too much lift, you can certainly take this without the blocks. And some days you might want to feel more grounded, which means bringing the props a little bit lower. And so we'll be here for about 6 minutes, probably 6.5. Allow yourself really just to settle in and drop in. Take a moment to become aware of your own personal map. Maybe physically what the body is feeling today. Maybe noticing or observing what you need. Returning back to that intention of your practice, this initial question of what did I need? And through a hip opening practice, we open the hips to explore, but sometimes that exploration is a little adventure. We don't always set out to find that same path. That's why life is a little adventure. We explore and we might discover some things that arise that we don't like. Maybe there's a roadblock. Maybe there's a song on the radio that is a memory that stirs something up. And it's okay to stir things up as long as we know what direction to take them in. And so we'll use the body map of the magic square, the magic house, to really find your own personal domain. And so 1, inhale, drop all the way down into your pelvis. Explore this place that we kind of stuff things in, our basement or our boiler room. It's where our pilot light is, our furnace, where we don't go. We don't usually live downstairs. And so just become aware of what's there. Notice that you have all the tools to get you moving and going. 2, travel up to the back of your right eye. Observe where you look out, where you dream, where you orient. 3, travel around your back to the tip of your left shoulder blade, left armpit, place of your heart. And then think that your left shoulder blade really comes around to the front of your left collarbone to move your heart's desire outward. So you can imagine the dream, and then you start to see it take place. And then 4, travel up to the front of your left eye. 4 is an orientation. It's a framework so that you know you have a good frame of reference, so that you find the dream, you feel it, you believe it, and then you put it into a schedule or a map. 5, travel down to the center of your chest, your own personal navigator, your own steering wheel. Where do you move? Where do you navigate? How you start to take the adventure. Then 6, travel down to your right foot, your accelerator, how you step out into the world, your garage. Then 7, travel up to the tip of your right shoulder blade, right armpit, right hand. Your hand of your liver, your hand of your doing, the hand that shakes the deal, or maybe elbow bumps the deal now. How do you get things done? And then 8, travel around the back to your left foot, your left leg, your place of your stability, your kitchen. It's our place where we feel, where we learn to articulate. And then 9, travel up to the forehead, the center of the third eye. Your whole outlook, your personal observatory, how you see the whole big picture. And then 10, feel the whole body together. And so we'll do that with the breath. Inhale 1, drop all the way down into your pelvis, your perineum. Exhale up to the back of your head at your right eye, the place where you look out, your goals. Inhale down the back to the tip of your left shoulder blade, your left armpit, place of your heart. Think that it brings you forward and out to your right just slightly. So you're moving your goals, you're feeling them, and you're moving them out into the world. Exhale up to your front of your left eye, your perspective, your framework, your frame of reference. Inhale, 5, find the center of your chest, your steering wheel, how you articulate between left and right, up and down, front and back. Inhale, down to your right foot, find your gas pedal. How do you move through your day? How do you get things going? How do you rev the engine? And then inhale, 7, find your right shoulder, your right hand. Exhale, down to your left foot, 8, your feelings, your stability, how you hold it together, how you withstand time. It's the laundry room, it's the circle of 8, it's to withstand things again and again and again. And then all the way up to 9, take an inhale, find the third eye, find your outlook, see the whole picture, and exhale, feel the whole body together. Whatever way feels supportive to you. Take your knees together. You can roll onto your side. I like to stay on my bolster. We're going to be here just for a minute as we transition. So giving yourself just that personal reminder that we'll move slowly through the transition as we come into this last part of our practice. I like to lay on my bolster, but you can also come off your bolster, but keep the eyes closed. Really reminding the physical body to slow down, to not rush, to find both the effort and the ease so that you know how to play both well. Because it's not effort or ease or effort. It's both ease and effort and ease. It's not up or down. It's up and down, so you know how to play the middle. Take a breath in. Let the breath out. And then for a moment, just take the bolster off to the side. If you use the blocks, everybody just set the blocks off and to the side. And we're gonna come into a twist before our Shavasana. I like to stay on one side. You can start on your right side, but it doesn't matter where you start. We'll do both sides. Take the bolster either in between the knees. My preference is the second variation to have my right leg straight if you're on your right side. And then I like to drape my left knee, my shin and my ankle on top of the bolster. A little bit more gentler version is to take the hands to the same side as the knee. Or if you want a little bit deeper twist or just a little bit more active twist, take your arms out to cactus or to a T. And then just notice where you want to settle in, where you want to twist out or really wring out the rest of things. Just feeling sort of unstable or sort of like they're swirling around today. So you can begin to soften and surrender. Close the eyes and just allow yourself to settle in. Take 3 deep breaths. In your own time, make your way onto the second side. You can take your props with you as you roll on your back and start to make your way onto the second side. Take a scan of the body from head to toes. Notice where you're holding any tension. And notice what room of the house you're holding tension in. And when you're ready, 3 breaths. Lay on your back. Come into final rest, Shavasana. I encourage you to take a bolster, tuck a bolster underneath your knees, which will allow the front of the thighs to really open out a little bit more. So you're really creating that external rotation of the hips. Try not to have anything under your head. Really try to get your legs a little bit more elevation with that bolster if you're choosing to use that today. And as you do that, you're really allowing the head to find that support and relax back. And then again, palms can turn up to open up the airways a little bit more. If you have a blanket or if you have any, a weighted blanket or any sandbags, you can also put those on top of your thighs, which will also create more room and more capacity to physically breathe in the upper body. So really allow the whole body to relax as you come down. Final rest and Shavasana. Take a breath in. Let the breath out. Make your way over to your right side. Join me in a comfortable seated pose. As you arrive back in Sukhasana, cross one shin in front of the other. Touch your fingertips just to the outside of your hips so that you find that visualization or really the image or metaphor of being this tree rooted down, but also allow the roots to come down, allow them to splay out. So you feel as rooted and grounded as a tree, and then allow your torso and vision to start to open like the branches. And then maybe explore closing the eyes. And then just simply be aware of the sky above you. And so we'll end with one last visualization using the imagination. Imagine clouds above your tree. Fill the sky up, really covering any blue. Maybe feeling the color of the clouds, if they're white, if they're dark. And then noticing the texture, noticing if they're full, if they're thin, just noticing anything that comes up. And then fill those clouds with your worry, with anything that's keeping you from feeling rooted and connected. Maybe naming them in your head, what that anxiousness is, what that worry is, what's keeping you from feeling rooted and grounded. And then with each cloud, once you've filled it with a thought, imagine it disappearing out of your sky, out of your personal hemisphere. And then keep doing that, finding a worry, finding concern, filling it with a cloud. And then imagine that cloud blowing away out of your atmosphere. So with each one, you feel that space clearing. Each one allows you to feel more rooted, more grounded, more aware of what's above you, but also what's below you so that you can really navigate your own personal circumstance. Take one last breath. Take a deep, full breath. Inhale. Imagine the breath blowing, clearing out any remaining clouds above you so that you have a beautiful, clear blue sky. And then join your hands at your heart. Find your personal effort, your intention, your work, and then find gratitude for that today. Take a breath. Inhale to close. Exhale to let it go. Blink the eyes open. Namaste. Thank you all. Thanks, Leela. Thanks, Kathleen. Thanks, Jeannie. Thanks, Joanne. Good to have you today. Let me know if you have any questions. We have added Tara. Tara's in Canada. I don't know if you guys know, but she's added Wednesdays to the Zoom schedule. And we've also started to add more outdoor yoga classes under the Ease Oasis, and those are really lovely. We also hired Erin Bedingfield, and if anyone's had a chance to take her yet, I've been taking Erin's class for years, and she's lovely. She's going to start next Tuesday, 6 a.m. So feel free to ask if you have any questions, and we'll see you on the mat soon. Thanks for joining.
I wanted to say thank you, Kat. In
Yes, thank
particular,
you, Leila.
I've learned something new today, so I really appreciate it. In Pigeon, I was always doing restorative with the block right under here. So it's the first time today I've done this. It made a huge difference on my shoulders, so thank you for that.
Yes, good. I'm so glad. Yeah, every time.